We've got to start with September 8th. Of course, that's the day that the Ray Rice video, the elevator video, became public. Of course, there was the original video. My question to you to start off is, what did you learn personally from going through that experience?
Try to make sure that September 8th doesn't happen. You've got to try to get the information. We didn't have the information, as you know. It was shown through the Mueller report that we did not have the tape. But we have to go and try to obtain that tape and that kind of information independently. We're hiring experts outside, internal, and we are in a much better position to be able to make sure we have the right information so we can make the right decisions.
What mistakes were made, either by you, by the NFL, or maybe even by all of us?
Well, there were several. One of them was you don't bring the victim to a hearing. The union had asked if she could come, and we said yes. But in this kind of a case, you don't do that. And it's important not to do that. Second is making sure that you don't try to interpret the prosecutor's motivations. If they had seen that tape, I would have thought there would have been more, at least criminal justice interference or involvement. And unfortunately, there wasn't.
Pivoting here for a few moments before we start with the students' questions, Commissioner, the concussion issue is another huge issue that the NFL has been involved in. Are you satisfied that the NFL has done enough for these thousands of former players and their families who are suffering and needing to deal with this issue?
Well, Christine, I don't think you can ever do enough. We have put numerous programs in over the last couple of decades, but most particularly in the last 10 years, to try to have families deal with neurocognitive issues, regardless of whether it was caused by football or anything else. We will continue to look to see what we can do to try to help our players deal with any issues that arise, whether they be financial, emotional. Life is all about transitioning. You have to be able to do that, and it's very difficult for people to do that. And we're trying to give them the resources to do it successfully.
How safe is football?
We've just begun really to see real results of the changes we've made over the last several years. Because we've changed the rules. We've made changes in the game that take the head out of the game. We've also made changes in our equipment and have further changes. We're also investing millions of dollars in research to understand the facts, because there's not a lot of facts out there. There's a lot of unknowns, particularly when it comes to brain injury. We're also trying to change the way the game is played on all levels of football. We're not just focusing on the NFL. And I would tell you, I would play football again in a moment. And I just think it's a great sport to teach you values, to teach you teamwork, to teach you how to be successful in life. I think those things stay with me to this day.
One of the things that dominated headlines this season was the name the Washington Redskins. Obviously, since then, it's been pretty quiet on that front for a couple months. I was wondering what the progress was there.
The answer is ultimately it's a decision that the team has to make. There's obviously a very strong view in the public, and we understand that there's issues with that, and it's something that we're listening, and we're certainly going to continue to monitor that.
Commissioner, to follow up on that, do you personally believe that the name is a racial slur?
It's the name of a football team, Christine, and I grew up as a Washington Redskin fan, as you know, and I always looked at that as something that was something we were proud of.
To what extent do you see the NFL as sort of becoming its own police force, and how do you plan to handle appeals on disciplinary decisions that you yourself make?
Several things. You can violate our personal conduct policy and not violate the law. So we have different standards that we apply to our NFL players. We also don't have to live to the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. If we believe it's more likely than not that that occurred, we have the right to do that and enforce our policies, and we will do that. One of the things where we have a difference of opinion with the union, we believe the standard should be higher, not lower. We believe the discipline should be responsible if there's a violation, not lower. And we also believe the decision should be made by somebody that believes that the NFL reputation is of the utmost importance, not some third-party arbitrator who may not care. No one's going to protect the NFL more than yours truly.
I'm interested with an event coming up aside from the NFL draft this weekend, the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, dealing with an athlete like Mayweather who has faced a lot of allegations in his kind of repetitive defenses, there's no pictures, there's no proof. How would you deal with that situation?
I guess I go to the point again about the over-reliance on law enforcement. That was the biggest learning we had from last fall, is you cannot just take whatever law enforcement does and accept that. You have to, without interference, try to get information independently. And we hadn't done that in the past.
The draft has become synonymous with Radio City Music Hall in the past couple years. I was just curious, do you see it going back there? Are we now on a Goodwill tour where it's going to be going across the country? Where's the draft going to be next year and the year after that?
The reason why we left Radio City initially, even though we had contemplated the idea of taking it on the road, was because Radio City had another series of events that caused it would have been moved to June. We can't do that. So what happens in a typical fashion like this is it created an opportunity for us. We had the opportunity to look to see where would we take this to make it more successful. How can we reinvent the draft? And I think what we've seen here and what I believe will unfold over the next few days is something really extraordinary that we've all learned. This is a great opportunity for us to just let people to really experience the draft in a different way.